Hello and welcome. I am Prakash Kamat, a journalist and a person working in the field of disability in Goa. Today we are talking ability. I am with you on Live News Goa TV on YouTube discussing about disability sector. The point is like this. When we speak of disability, general common man's perception is that we talk about disability, but it is not correct. In the changing world, when we talk about disability, we actually talk about ability. Persons with disability, with education, with technology, and with accessibility in public spaces. What we should talk about them is inclusion and ability of them to work on par with others. That is very important. So when we talk about disability, I am having with me Avelino D'Sa. He is the president of the Goa Disability Rights Association, an organization of persons with disability, run by persons with disability, for persons with disability. Welcome, Avelino, for this talk ability.
Thank you.
Avelino, you just tell me, you have been working in this field. You are personally a person with disability, a person with cerebral palsy, and you are a professional. You are a financial consultant. You have done your commerce graduation and doing financial consultancy. So, as I said, you will agree with me that when we talk about disability, we should talk about ability, right?
Yes. If you go to see, everybody has been created equal by God. So everybody is given different abilities, and everybody has a disability. We look at persons with disabilities, only those who do not have limbs or those who have intellectual disabilities. But actually, if you see, there are persons may have emotional disabilities who may not be able to handle certain things in a certain way. Okay, so everybody is not created equally. Everybody has some sort of disability in themselves. Okay, so we should not discriminate against persons with physical and intellectual disabilities.
You rightly said there should not be discrimination. That brings us to a major point. Is society inclusive? Is society accepting persons with disability to come on par with everybody? That is the main question.
So we have been working in the field of disability for the last 20 years, and over the last 20 years we have seen slowly changes have been taking place. People are getting more and more inclusive, people are getting more and more accepting, people are getting more and more involved in issues of persons with disabilities, and people are raising the voices for persons with disabilities.
Avelino, tell me that when you work in the field of disability, now you are talking for 20 years. If we go back around, say, 15, 20 years, what was the situation on ground? Simple thing. When I said empowering persons with disability starts with education. Empowering persons with disability starts with opportunities, giving equal opportunities. So what was the scenario then, and how you see things evolving now, and what is that which is responsible to bring about this change?
In the past, if you saw, people were not very accepting to people with disabilities. People with disabilities were kept locked up in the houses. They were not brought out in the open for public functions and things like that. They were not given an education. They were not given employment. There were no accessible places. But over the last 20 years that we have been working, we have ensured that various disability acts which have come into force have been implemented. Okay, so Disability Act 2016 is there now, which gives right to education, right to employment, right to accessibility for persons with disabilities. and many changes have been taking place in the last 20 years. Persons with disabilities are coming out today on their own, are coming out by themselves. They are coming out of the houses. They are being accepted by family members. They are reaching great heights. Okay, but and the best thing is that persons with disability are coming forward to demand their rights. Persons with disabilities know what are their rights under the Disability Act 2016, and they are coming forward to demand it. They are not happy with what they are getting from the government or what the society is giving them. They are coming forward to demand their rights, and I think that is one of the major changes that has been done by our association, the biggest change that has been done by our association over the last 20 years. Of course, the government is helping and other NGOs are also working in this field. But the biggest change today is that persons with disability are coming forward to demand their rights.
As you said earlier, that acts, we have a 1995 Act of Rights of Persons with Disability, and now 2016, much stronger act based on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, 2005, correct? So things have evolved in a big way. At the same time, don't you think that having acts in place, but for implementation, there should be redressal authorities, and in that sense, we have a structure at the national level as well as at the state level, what is known as commissioners for persons with disability. Do you think these commissions, which are supposed to be grievance redressal mechanisms and working with governments for implementing, overseeing the implementation of accessibility, inclusion, empowerment of persons with disability, and especially their reservations in education and employment, do you think these mechanisms are effectively working?
Our Goa State Disability Commissioner, Mr. Paskar, is doing a good job on the ground. But as you know, lots more has still to be done where disability awareness is concerned or enforcement of the rights are concerned. Lots more has still to be done. Okay, and I think many more of us should come together, join hands with the Disability Commissioner to make it, make the act more effective.
Especially issues of accessibility are of concern because it starts right from the beginning where education, primary education, is the first thing for all children. And we find that still many schools are without ramps. Still many schools are without accessible toilets, especially for girl child. It becomes very difficult to sit in a school if there is no accessible toilet. So we are talking about basic necessities for children to start education. With education, next step comes empowerment through technology, right? So technology is costly. So the issue of making technology affordable. So do you think our governments are playing the role to make these basic needs like ramps, like accessible toilets, then making for visual impaired, for instance, talking laptop is a very important thing. So do you think these governments have become aware and they are taking that extra step which is needed to empower these children so that in coming future these children will be really empowered in a big way, much more than what we saw the scenarios 10-15 years back?
Accessibility is one of the major rights of a person with disability. If we do not have accessibility, we cannot talk about right to education, we cannot talk about right to employment, we cannot talk about right to entertainment. So accessibility is a major rights or major right of the person with disability. Secondly, technology is not an expensive affair. Accessibility also is not an expensive affair if you look at the long-term benefit of it. Okay, so if you see a ramp, if you're costing you 1 lakh, benefits will be for the next 10 years. So per year is just about 10,000 for a ramp, which is not an expensive affair for a school or for a college or for any establishment, whether it's a private establishment or a government establishment, to enforce it. Okay. Over the years, the government has been doing a lot of things, but lots more schools have to become accessible. Lots more government offices have to become accessible.
One more aspect I would like to talk about: economic empowerment, which means economic self-dependence of persons with disabilities. Once they are given education, once they are trained, they need employment. And as awareness in the society is not very effective as of now, it becomes the responsibility of the government, and therefore the act prescribes a very detailed policy on reservation of jobs for persons with disability. Do you think that state governments and the central government are seriously implementing this reservation policy for jobs the way it should be implemented, the way it is been given 4% reservation by specifically A, B, C, D, various categories of disabilities? One aspect here, one more comes is there should be proper reasonable accommodation, means facilitation in the organization or in the establishment or with the employer's responsibility. Do you think governments are serious on this?
As per the Disability Act 2016, there is a 4% reservation for persons with disabilities. Okay, unfortunately, it is not being implemented properly in the state of Goa, and deserving candidates are not given an opportunity under the reservation quota. Many times the reservations are not even carried forward properly. Okay, but the Disabilities Act 2016 also brings in the private sector where employment and accessibility is concerned. So as a result of which the private sector has to have an equal opportunity policy. They cannot say no to a person with disability on the grounds of his disability. So the private sector also has to employ persons with disabilities. Also, there are lots of self-employment opportunities available for persons with disabilities. Like for example, I myself am a financial consultant. So I do insurance, I do mutual funds, which is a zero capital business. Similarly, there are other businesses also which people can start, and they can do self-employment. So I request persons with disability not to remain idle at home. Do something instead of waiting for government jobs. Also, there are so many jobs today where you can have work from home opportunities. So many loan opportunities are available with the various banks and government institutions, which persons with disabilities can take up. So people can see their educational qualifications, people can see their hobbies, people can see what they like to do, and they can start some self-employment business.
Friends, so you have seen what is important is when we talk ability for persons with disability, inclusion by society. Society standing by persons with disability, amplifying their concerns, amplifying their voice will only help them get into the mainstream, get their issues and concerns resolved, because this is a very minuscule minority. By itself, it cannot make impact on the governments and institutions. But having said that, it is our duty to see that when we talk disability, we talk ability, because that will reflect on the entire society. Therefore, from here onwards, we will take up a lot of issues, we will take up a lot of concerns. At the same time, we will also take up success stories of persons with disabilities who have overcome all kinds of barriers and have shown success in their life. Here we end and we meet again. Thank you very much.